We live in times where exposure has become social currency. You turn on your phone and see people breaking down in their stories, opening up about their traumas in posts, transforming deep pain into entertainment. The speech is nice. Vulnerability is strength. But the truth that no one talks about is that this strength is costing a lot. Very expensive. Modern man has confused emotional freedom with opening the gates of his mind to anyone. He shows off too much, explains too much, gives too much of himself. And in the end, what is left? A soul that is wide open, invaded, manipulated, and left empty, because no one respects what is handed to them on a silver platter. There is a truth that burns, but frees. Those who show too much of themselves become an easy target. Those who reveal everything reveal the map of their own emotional kidnapping. Men like this believe that absolute sincerity creates connection, but unfiltered connection creates dependence, not respect. They forget that the world is not made up of just those who want to understand. It is made up of many who want to control. And for the manipulator, there is no better gift than a man who gives his emotions away for free. Think about it. If someone knows your pain, your traumas, your triggers, your insecurities, what stops that person from using all of that against you? Nothing. Worse, most people use it. Exposed fragility is like blood in the water. It attracts emotional sharks. People who feed on your imbalance. Who approach you with empathy but take advantage of you. Who say, I want to understand you, but map out exactly where to press. The problem is not in feeling. The problem is in show everything to everyone as if the world was safe enough for that. And it's not. Men who don't build mental walls live at the mercy of others. They react to everything, explain themselves too much, and fall apart in front of people who don't even deserve to know where it hurts. And the result is always the same: zero respect, absolute domination over them. So you need to understand one thing once and for all. True power is not in being cold. It is in being selectively unapproachable. It's not about becoming a rock. It's about becoming a protected psychological territory, a space that few enter, and when they do, it's with reverence, with merit, not out of emotional manipulation, not out of pity, not out of games. This is the mistake that modern man makes every day. He believes that in order to be accepted, he needs to open himself up completely. But the acceptance that comes from total surrender is always unstable, because what is too exposed loses its mystery, and what has no mystery has no lasting emotional value. Look, you don't have to hide your truth, but you do need to build a psychological wall, a filter, a clear boundary between what's yours and what others are allowed to access. This wall is not coldness, it is intelligence, it is strategic protection. Because while most are struggling to be understood, true players build versions of themselves that are unbeatable. They don't shout. They don't justify themselves. They don't rush to prove anything. They observe. They filter. They are silent. Because silence, used well, is a weapon. And unpredictability is a shield. The truth is simple. You need to become an emotional territory that is impossible to invade. And this is built with rules, with principles, with self-control. Today, you will learn the 5 Machiavellian rules that build this psychological wall. An invisible wall, but so solid that no manipulator, no emotional blackmail, no mind game can overcome it. And if you apply this, you will notice people's respect changes, because the world only respects what it cannot dominate. So stay with me until the end, because the man who builds his mental wall no longer wastes time explaining himself. He begins to control his own narrative in silence. And silence, when used well, is the sound of true power. Now that you understand the price of being an open book, it's time to rebuild, to stop being an invaded field and become sacred territory. And that starts with 5 rules. They're not light advice. They're mental codes of conduct that will transform you into an impenetrable man. A man that no one can manipulate, no one can shake, no one can read without merit. The first rule is absolutely necessary. Never expose the origin of your pain. Your pain is sacred. It is not emotional currency. It is not an argument to justify failures. It is not an invitation for cheap empathy. It is heritage, and heritage is protected. Every time you reveal where it hurts, you give away an emotional map. And the world is full of people who don't want to help you, they want to use you. Those who know where you bleed know how to make you bleed, and the most dangerous thing, they will pretend to care while squeezing exactly where it hurts. The man who exposes his pain to everyone turns vulnerability into a weapon against himself. Machiavelli wouldn't just say to hide the wound, he would say to make it seem like it never existed. The second rule is ambiguity as a defense. A man who is easily read is easily defeated. A predictable man is fragile. Being ambiguous is not being false. It is being strategic. It is preventing people from knowing exactly where you are emotionally. An indecipherable man generates doubt, and doubt generates respect, because what is not understood is respected, and often feared. A simple example. That guy who never makes it clear whether he agrees or disagrees, but maintains a firm stance. People mold themselves around him. They try to please, they want to understand, because mystery exerts power. Being ambiguous is like walking in fog. No one dares to run when they don't know where they are stepping, and at that pace, you control the terrain. The third rule is emotional mastery. And emotional mastery is not about speaking softly. It is about being unshakable. It is about understanding that every time you react impulsively, you give away the key to your psychology. The man who shouts, who fights back, who loses control, has already lost, because the control he does not have over himself, others now have. Now imagine the opposite. Someone tries to provoke you and you simply watch. You do not get upset. You do not defend yourself. You do not give anything away. This is not coldness. It is silent supremacy. In the emotional realm, he who speaks less dominates more. He who reacts less commands more. Machiavelli would have smiled at the man who keeps his face impassive while everyone around him loses control. This is the true psychological throne. The fourth rule is simple and deadly. Hide your intentions, but keep a fixed purpose. Most people fail because they talk too much about what they want. They say where they want to go. They show their plans. But those who reveal their destination allow others to sabotage their path. The secret here is to appear distracted when you are focused. It is to appear relaxed when you are attentive. It is to appear disinterested when you are aiming. The strategy is to hide your game, even when playing with full force. And here comes the most powerful contrast. While everyone tries to appear confident by telling everything they want, you protect yourself by saying little and walking in silence. Those who do not know where you are aiming cannot block you, and those who try always miss the target. The fifth and final rule is to build an aura of selective coolness. You don't have to be cold to everyone, but you do have to be cold enough to never be predictably approachable. Men who are always available, always smiling, always emotional, are the first to be discarded, because too much heat burns respect. The other person needs to feel that you are kind, but not surrendered, that you are polite, but not easily accessible, that you are empathetic, but not needy. Selective coolness is like a filter. Those who lack emotional strength move away. Those who have true respect approach with reverence. This is the presence that commands value, a combination of magnetism and distance. You are there, but you can disappear at any moment. And this possibility, this unpredictability, creates respect. It creates desire. It creates boundaries. These 5 rules are not just advice. They are structures, bricks. Each one builds a layer of your psychological wall, an invisible but impenetrable wall. And the higher it is, the less you bleed, the less you are accessed by those who do not deserve it. Because the world only respects what it cannot invade. You can master all the rules, build mental walls, cultivate strategic silence, but if you make a single mistake, a subtle, almost imperceptible mistake, your entire castle crumbles. That mistake is simple, allowing your mind to become a public space. That's when you, even armed with strategies, decide to let your guard down out of need, out of fear of loneliness, out of need for acceptance. And in that moment, all your power is drained. Modern man, in his desperate search for connection, often confuses intimacy with exposure. He believes that being accepted means showing himself completely, opening all doors, revealing every corner of his soul. But what he doesn't realize is that by doing so, he is giving away his weapons, his defenses, his essence. He is making himself vulnerable not by choice, but out of desperation. Imagine a majestic castle with imposing walls, tall towers, and reinforced gates. Now imagine that inside, all the doors are wide open, the secrets are on display, the treasures are unprotected. What's the point of so much external strength if internally everything is vulnerable? Such is the man who builds an image of strength, but allows his mind to be invaded by anyone who shows a little interest. This mistake is all the more dangerous because it is subtle. It masquerades as empathy, as openness, as sincerity. But in reality, it is a form of self-sabotage. It is the man saying, "Look how accessible I am, look how transparent I am, look how worthy of love I am." But what others see is, here is someone who is easy to manipulate, easy to control, easy to discard. True strength is not in exposing yourself, but in knowing what to show, when to show it, and to whom to show it. It is understanding that not everyone deserves access to your inner world, that your mind is a temple, and temples are not open to just anyone. They demand respect, reverence, and merit. By allowing your mind to become a public space, you are telling the world that you do not value your own essence. You are allowing others to shape your beliefs, influence your decisions, determine your worth. You are becoming a reflection of the opinions of others, rather than a man of solid principles. Machiavelli taught us that power lies in perception, and when you show yourself too much, you lose control over how you are perceived. You become predictable, ordinary, disposable. Mystery, unpredictability, selectivity, these are the true pillars of respect. Therefore, the consolidation of all the previous rules depends on one decision: not to allow your mind to be invaded. It is not about building insurmountable walls, but about establishing clear limits, about knowing who deserves access and who does not, about understanding that your peace, your clarity, your essence are too precious to be given to just anyone. The fatal error is not being rejected. It is being accepted for a distorted version of yourself. It is molding yourself to please, to belong, to be loved. But love that demands that you lose yourself is not love. It is domination. Instead, choose to be whole. Choose to be true to yourself. Choose to be selective. Because a man who respects himself commands respect. And true respect comes not from exposure, but from integrity. We've reached the end point, but the end here is not a conclusion. It's a call to action. If you've read this far, it's no accident. You feel it, you know it. There's something inside you that already understands that this game isn't just about being stronger. It's about being more lucid, more selective, more strategic. Because true power isn't about having control over others, it's about not needing their approval. We live in an era where being accepted has become a priority, where men conform to expectations, sacrifice themselves to fit into relationships, betray themselves in the name of artificial peace. Men who lower their heads to maintain a feminine presence, who silence their principles to keep friends, who pretend to be okay so as not to appear weak. And in this silent process of concessions, they don't realize that they are dying, not from a gunshot, but from small daily cuts. Cuts made by their own hands. It is about these men that we need to talk. Men who, little by little, stopped being who they are to be what others expected. Men who live in emotional prisons with decorated walls, cells with soft armchairs, but still cells. Men who lose themselves trying to please, and in the end are still discarded. Because the truth is only one: whoever bends too much ends up broken. You may be temporarily accepted by adjusting. You may even receive affection by lowering yourself. But you will never be respected. And respect is the only currency that really matters when it comes to personal power. Respect is born from the contrast between what is seen and what is not understood, between what is offered and what is protected, between the accessible man and the mysterious, lucid and firm man. You don't need everyone's approval. That's an illusion. The only thing a truly powerful man needs is his own truth, and the courage to hold on to that truth even when it scares you, even when it bothers you, even when it pushes you away. Because what pushes you away out of respect should never stay out of convenience. Being an unforgettable man is not about being loved by everyone. It's being remembered as someone who never gave up, who had firmness in his eyes even when his heart trembled, who kept quiet when it was easy to shout, who withdrew when it would have been more convenient to humble himself, who built a mental wall not to keep the world out, but to ensure that only the worthy had access. The Machiavellian man is not an emotional tyrant. He is an architect of his own dignity. He understands that there is no loneliness worse than being surrounded by people who only get close because you have made yourself scarce in order to fit in. He understands that true loneliness is not the absence of company. It is the constant presence of those who have never really seen you. So if you are going to lose someone, let it be for being whole, because the man who walks with his truth is never alone. He is aligned with a destiny that respects who he really is. What do you choose from, now on? To be remembered as just another one, accessible, predictable, easily manipulated, or be marked in memory as someone who knew how to impose his presence with silence, with clarity, with invisible walls that few can even touch? You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to run after anything. You don't need to prove anything. Just be, but be firm, with rules, with limits, with values that don't trade your soul for crumbs of attention. This is the call, not to be cold, but to be lucid, not to be distant, but to be selective, not to be feared, but to be respected. If this message touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe your brother, your friend, that man who is almost losing himself to be accepted. Together, let's free a generation of men who no longer want to be liked out of convenience, but respected out of truth. Because true power does not beg, does not explain itself, does not bow. He just imposes himself in silence.